Beneath the vast blue skin of the Pacific Ocean lies a world so alien, so untouched, that even the most advanced machines tremble before its silence. Imagine descending into a darkness where no sunlight has ever reached, where pressure crushes steel and sound becomes memory, where life has rewritten its own rules just to exist. Down here, mountains rise upside down, volcanoes sleep beneath miles of black water, and rivers of fire flow through valleys of ice-cold stone. Every meter we descend is a journey backward in time, a descent through layers of Earth's memory carved by tectonic rage and sculpted by the quiet persistence of life. This is not just the ocean floor. It is a hidden continent of motion and mystery, a place where the planet itself is alive, breathing through cracks in its crust, whispering stories that have never been heard by human ears. Somewhere in this abyss, creatures glow like living constellations, their bodies painted with light made from chemistry, not sunlight, a reminder that even in the absence of everything familiar, life finds a way to shine. The deeper we go, the more impossible it feels that anything could survive. Yet every flicker of movement below proves that resilience is not a choice, but a law written into existence itself. Scientists call this region the ultimate frontier. Explorers call it the underworld of the sea. But to those who have seen its black horizons, it feels like standing at the edge of creation. What secrets lie in these cathedrals of darkness? What ancient forces still shape the crust beneath our feet? What forms of life have been waiting millions of years to be seen for the first time? The answers may change not only how we see the ocean, but how we understand our place within it. Because sometimes the deepest mysteries of the planet are not above us. They are waiting below, silent, immense, and alive. As the descent begins, the surface world fades into memory, replaced by an endless twilight that thickens into blackness with every passing second. The light from the vessel dissolves into a haze of drifting particles, like stars trapped in slow motion, and the only sound that remains is the quiet hum of machinery and the distant groan of the deep. At 6,000 meters, the ocean no longer feels like water. It feels like a living weight pressing from every direction. And yet, this place is far from the Senjin, empty. In the beams of artificial light, shapes move with eerie grace. Translucent creatures with glowing veins pulse through the darkness, their bodies shimmering like glass filled with fire. Some are as small as a fingertip, others stretch longer than a man. And all of them live by rules that seem to belong to another planet. They do not eat sunlight, they do not breathe air. They take energy from the minerals that bleed from the earth itself. This is a world built on chemistry where hydrogen sulfide becomes food and darkness becomes fuel. At these depths, the pressure is over 1,000 times greater than at the surface. And still, life thrives indifferent to the forces that should destroy it. The submersible glides over a plain of fine sediment that looks smooth from afar. But up close, it is alive with movement. Tiny worms retreat into holes. Colonies of bacteria form glowing mats on the rocks, and strange fish hover motionless, waiting for vibrations that will guide them to their next meal. In the distance, a ridge appears faint at first, then clearer, a towering wall of rock that rises from the abyss like the side of a buried mountain. This is part of the Mariana Escarpment, a place so steep that it seems to slice the ocean in half. Crew adjusts the lights, and the cliff face bursts into view. Sharp ridges, jagged edges, scars that tell the story of tectonic battles fought over millions of years. Each groove, each fracture, is a sentence in the planet's autobiography. Record of pressure and heat and motion written in stone. The Pacific Plate dives beneath the Philippine Sea, plate here pulled downward by gravity and reshaped by the invisible strength of the Earth's mantle. The crust bends, cracks, and folds under unimaginable force, releasing energy that echoes as earthquakes and building mountains that may one day rise above the waves. The sub drifts closer to a fissure, where hot mineral water spews from the rock in ghostly plumes. The temperature around it rises, but only slightly, for even here heat is swallowed by the cold. A vent bursts open like a wound, and through it pours a chemical storm rich in iron, sulfur, and methane. The water shimmers like liquid smoke, And from this hostile flow, life blooms tube worms without. Eyes stretch toward the vent, their white bodies ending in blood. Red plumes that wave gently in the current. Crabs coated in bacteria crawl across the rocks, feeding on invisible life that thrives in this toxic stew. It is here that the miracle of chemosynthesis reigns supreme, where bacteria create food not from sunlight, but from the chemistry of the planet itself. They are the architects of this hidden city, the base of an ecosystem that proves life can begin even in the most impossible places. As note of Lorg. The sub continues along the ridge. The landscape changes again, rising into massive terraces that resemble staircases carved for giants. These are remnants of ancient volcanic eruptions, frozen in time by the slow drift of continents. Above them, clouds of debris hang suspended, tiny flakes of organic matter that fall endlessly from the upper layers of the ocean. Scientists call this marine snow, and to the creatures below it is gold. Every particle, a fragment of a dead plant or animal, slowly returning to the cycle of life and death that never stops. The pilot whispers as new readings appear on the instruments. The depth increases past 10,000 meters. They are now approaching the deepest known point of the trench, where even the most advanced technology begins to strain. The lights reveal something unexpected, a shape moving with slow, deliberate rhythm. A giant squid drifts from the darkness, its eyes reflecting the beams like twin moons. Its tentacles curl and uncoil gracefully, and for the moment the entire crew forgets to breathe. It is not fear but awe that fills the cabin, for they are looking at a creature that has survived countless ages unchanged. The squid vanishes as silently as it appeared, leaving only the echo of its presence in the black. Beyond this point, the trench narrows, and the floor becomes uneven, scattered with fragments of basalt and strange metallic nodules. The sensors detect faint magnetic pulses, perhaps from the movement of molten rock deep below, or maybe from geological formations that defy full explanation. The walls of the trench shimmer faintly with bioluminescent algae forming patterns that resemble constellations seen from a reversed sky. It is as if the stars themselves have fallen into the sea. The narrator's voice grows softer, filled with wonder and gravity. We often speak of space as the final frontier, but in truth, the ocean is closer, older, and just as unknown. Down here, time moves differently. Layers of sediment build over centuries, turning the private seafloor into a slow-moving archive. Every dive adds a new line to our understanding, and every discovery reminds us how little we still know. The mission continues to the East Pacific Rise, where the crust of the Earth is being created anew. Magma from beneath. The mantle pushes upward, splitting the seafloor and forming ridges that span thousands of miles. Through this process, the planet recycles itself, melting and rebuilding in an endless cycle of destruction and birth. Along these ridges, black smokers release superheated water, rich in minerals, feeding entire ecosystems of blind shrimp and armored crabs. The sub passes over one of these vents, and the cameras capture something mesmerizing. A forest of chimneys glowing faintly with heat surrounded by clouds of living light. The water here is deadly to humans, yet it is home to thousands of species, each perfectly adapted to thrive where no sunlight exists. It is the purest form of resilience, a reminder that adaptation is the language of survival. The deeper the journey, the clearer the pattern becomes. Life does not resist change. It reshapes itself around it. Every organism down here is proof that limitations are illusions created by perspective. The fish without eyes do not mourn their blindness. They have evolved a new kind of vision, one that senses vibrations in the water. The bacteria do not need oxygen. They breathe metal and gas. The worms that cannot move have partnerships with microbes that feed them. In this darkness, cooperation becomes the highest form of intelligence. The vessel continues toward the Tonga Trench, another scar in the ocean's skin where the Earth folds upon itself. The region is restless, trembling with constant motion, and yet within that, instability. Life finds rhythm. Hydrothermal vents here roar like underwater volcanoes, and the seafloor glows with a strange metallic hue caused by minerals pouring from the crust. The cameras capture clouds of shimmering heat rising like ghosts. Each eruption reshapes the terrain, tearing apart what existed to make room for something new. It is violent, yet creative, much like the cycles that govern every aspect of existence. Above the trench, storms rage, unseen hurricanes twist across the Pacific surface, their energy connected to the same forces that move continents. The crew falls silent as the realization settles that everything is linked. The winds, the waves, the fire beneath the sea, all part of one vast machine. The narrator speaks again, not as a scientist, but as a witness to something sacred. In this darkness we find reflection because the ocean mirrors us. Its pressure tests the strength of our creations. Its silence amplifies the sound of our thoughts. And its persistence teaches what it means to endure. When we face the present, unknown, we are no different from the creatures that glow in the black. We adapt, we learn, we survive. The deeper we dive, the more we understand that fear is only curiosity waiting to be named. The sub begins its slow ascent, the lights dimming. As the surface draws closer, the team has gathered data samples and memories, but what they truly carry back is perspective. Every drop of water above them holds the weight of history. Every echo of movement tells a story older than humanity. The ocean is not a void. It is a mind, vast and ancient, that remembers every tremor, every birth, every silence. As the first rays of sunlight pierce the waves, the crew emerges blinking into the brilliance of day. The narrator concludes softly. In the end, the deep sea does not just reveal the mysteries of our planet, it teaches us how to live in our own depths. When life surrounds us with pressure, we adapt. When darkness hides the path, we create our own light. When everything seems still, the world is still moving beneath us, reshaping, renewing, reminding us that even in the deepest silence, life never stops finding its voice. The light of the surface fades behind once more as the vessel continues its descent along the shifting crust of the Pacific floor. The ocean at this depth is colder now, almost motionless except for the slow drift of sediment that falls like an eternal snowstorm. Each grain of dust tells a story of the world above, fragments of volcanoes, coral reefs and mountains, slowly returning to the deep to become part of the ocean's memory. The sensors show a gradual rise in temperature, which means they are approaching another rift where the Earth itself is alive beneath the sea. This is the edge of the Ring of Fire, a circle of relentless energy that wraps around the Pacific like a glowing scar. It is here that the planet breathes with fire and water, mixing in a dance as old as the continents themselves. The Tonga Trench lies ahead, a wound stretching across the ocean floor, its edges trembling with invisible power. The submersible moves carefully, its light slicing through the flies, black, until shapes emerge. Columns of smoke rising in slow spirals from the vents scattered along the ridge. Each vent is a portal into the mantle, the place where molten rock meets the freezing sea and gives birth to life in defiance of every natural law, the water. Looking around, the vents glows faintly blue from the minerals suspended in the current, and the scene looks almost supernatural, as if the earth is exhaling stars. The pilot steadies the vessel as they approach a cluster of chimneys. Some stand taller than trees. Their surface is coated in shimmering crystals of metal that formed from centuries of reaction between rock and ocean within the shimmering clouds around them. Life thrives in impossible density. Crabs covered in white fuzz scuttle across the rocks, their shells home to colonies of bacteria that feed on sulfuric gases. Swarms of shrimp flicker like embers, drawn toward the heat, while pale eels twist through the plumes in slow, deliberate arcs. At first glance, the scene seems chaotic, yet everything here follows a hidden rhythm, each species perfectly tuned to the chemistry of its world. The cameras record every detail, capturing a landscape that looks more like an alien planet than the one we know. Yet in these strange forms we recognize something deeply familiar: the unstoppable will to live, the endless creativity of nature, finding balance where logic says it cannot. The narrator's voice fills the cabin with calm wonder, describing how each vent acts like a heartbeat for the seafloor, pumping nutrients through the dark ecosystem, feeding billions of microorganisms that in turn feed the larger forms of life. What appears fragile from above is in truth one of the most stable systems on Earth because it is built on adaptation and cooperation. In this world of extremes, nothing survives alone. The sub glides further north following the chain of activity until the ocean floor begins to rise into vast mounds that stretch for hundreds of miles. These are the remnants of ancient volcanoes, sleeping giants that once shaped the Pacific landscape long before humans existed. One of them looms ahead, immense and ghostly, the Tamu Massif. For centuries, it was hidden under layers of sediment until modern sonar revealed its true size. Single volcano larger than the entire state of New Mexico. Its slopes rise gently for hundreds of miles until they vanish into the darkness, beyond the reach of light and even imagination. The narrator explains that this structure was born from a single eruption, so massive it changed the chemistry of the ocean and the atmosphere above. It is a monument to the creative and destructive power of the planet itself. Now it sleeps, its fire extinguished, yet its legacy continues, shaping the current of the deep water and guiding marine life like an invisible hand. The vessel circles the massif, tracing its ridges, while the instruments pick up subtle magnetic signals, still pulsing through the rock, proof that even a silent volcano carries echoes of its past. Farther north lies another chain of mountains, the Emperor Seamounts, each one a mark left by a moving tectonic plate as it drifted across a hot spot deep below the crust. Together they form a trail that maps the journey of the Pacific itself, geological diary written in peaks and valleys that no one will ever climb. These mountains may never see the sky again, yet they shape the world above, influencing tides, currents, and even the climate in ways we are only beginning to understand. The deeper the sub travels, the clearer the connection becomes between all things. The ocean floor is not a graveyard, it is an engine. Each fault and fracture, each vent and volcano is part of a cycle that turns chaos into creation. Above this hidden machinery, humanity builds cities and dreams, often forgetting that everything we depend on begins down here in the silent dark. The narrator pauses, then speaks softly, reminding us that the same heat that drives these volcanoes fuels the winds that power our storms and the BOs, same minerals that feed bacteria. Here are the foundation of every nutrient that sustains life on land. The planet is one organism, every part connected by invisible threads. And to understand the ocean is to understand ourselves. Beyond the mountains, the terrain smooths into plains, covered in metallic nodules, small round stones that gleam under the lights like scattered coins. These nodules contain nickel, copper, cobalt, and rare earth elements, materials that have become essential to modern technology. Satellites, electric cars, and batteries all depend on them. Yet these treasures come at a cost. For extracting them would mean disturbing ecosystems that have taken millions of years to form. The narrator reflects on this paradox, our hunger for progress and the price we pay when we forget to listen to the rhythms of the world that built us. Perhaps the ocean does not hide its riches to punish us, but to teach restraint and respect. The journey continues toward the northern trenches near Kuril and Kamchatka, where the seafloor bends once again and the crust fractures into chaotic patterns. The sensors pick up the low vibrations of tectonic movement, the groan of plates grinding against each other like the slow turning of ancient gears. Every so often a tremor passes through the water, gentle yet unmistakable, a reminder that nothing here is still. The submersible holds steady, riding the pulse of the planet itself. The walls of the trench shimmer with sediment sliding like silk, revealing layers of history carved by centuries of motion. Fossilized shells of creatures long extinct lie trapped in the rock, silent witnesses to ages when this place was a shallow sea. The deeper layers hold traces of volcanic ash, evidence of eruptions that shaped the very continents above. The ocean is not separate from the land. It is the foundation upon which all continents rest. As the exploration continues, the team sends back real-time data showing how heat from the mantle rises through cracks, feeding vents, and influencing global temperatures. The narrator explains that the ocean acts as the lungs of the Earth, absorbing heat and carbon, balancing the climate that allows us to live. Every heartbeat of the deep sea affects the air we breathe, rain that falls, the crops that grow on our farms. What happens in the silence of the trench decides the future of the surface world. The narrator's tone shifts from scientific to reflective, reminding us that while we often look to the stars for new worlds to explore, we have not yet learned to fully understand our own. The ocean is both mirror and teacher. It shows us that creation always begins in darkness, and that survival depends not on strength, but on adaptation. The creatures of the deep have no eyes, yet they see through vibration. They have no lungs, yet they breathe through chemistry. They have no light, yet they shine. This is not weakness, it is transformation, a lesson that echoes far beyond the sea. When life confronts pressure, it does not resist it. It shapes itself around it. When everything above collapses into uncertainty, the deep reminds us that even the heaviest weight can nurture growth. The sub begins to ascend again, tracing its way up through the thermocline where cold meets warmth, where the black fades into blue. The journey has mapped more than terrain, it has mapped humility. Each meter upward feels like returning from a dream, yet that dream carries truth. The narrator's final reflection lingers in the air, soft but powerful. The ocean is not empty. It is the origin of all life, and it speaks in silence. If we learn to listen, we might understand that progress is not always about reaching higher. Sometimes it is about diving deeper into the unknown to rediscover what it means to belong to this living planet. For the heart of the world does not beat in the sky, but in the quiet depths below, and every sound above is only its distant echo. The vessel continues to glide through the vast blackness of the Pacific abyss, the world above now a fading thought replaced by the rhythmic hum of machinery and the slow heartbeat of the ocean itself. Beyond the glass, darkness stretches endlessly, yet within it glimmers faint traces of life, like scattered sparks in a void. Every pulse of light tells a story of survival, of creatures that have mastered existence under impossible pressure and eternal night. The deeper the descent, the more alien this world becomes, yet somehow it feels hauntingly familiar, as if we are not discovering something new, but returning to something ancient, buried deep within the memory of the Earth. Ahead, the sonar picks up the edge of a vast plateau, the remains of an ancient volcanic system that once erupted with a fury beyond imagination. The landscape rises and falls like the frozen waves of a stone sea, each ridge sculpted by the slow grinding of tectonic plates that never cease to move. The narrator's voice carries through the cabin steady and reverent, describing how these geological giants are not relics of the past but living bones of the planet, shifting and reshaping even now beneath the crushing weight of the ocean. This is the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, a region where the planet flexes its raw power, where earthquakes are born and tsunamis begin their journeys across oceans. The submersible's lights sweep across the jagged walls, revealing scars from centuries of collisions between the Pacific and Eurasian plates. Here, destruction and creation are one and the same, the death of old formations giving birth to new ones in an endless cycle. As the vessel drifts closer to the trench wall, shimmering clouds of sediment rise like mist. Within that haze, faint outlines move, fragile creatures that pulse with faint blue light. Bioluminescent jellyfish trail ribbons of color, and fish with translucent skin glide soundlessly between the rocks. The deeper they travel, the more apparent it becomes that life has written its own language here, one of adaptation, silence, and endurance. These organisms do not merely survive, they thrive, shaped by forces that would crush anything unprepared for such a world. A sudden vibration passes through the hull, faint but unmistakable, the sound of the Earth itself shifting in its sleep. The pilot steadies the vessel while the instruments spike for a brief second, registering the tremor before it fades. It is a reminder that even in the stillness, This world is alive, breathing, and moving, guided by energies far greater than any human hand could ever control. The cameras capture footage of cracks running deep into the trench floor, glowing faintly with the heat that rises from the mantle below. Here, magma and water meet in a silent dialogue of creation. Minerals erupt from these fissures, coating the rocks in metallic hues, gold, copper, iron, all glimmering like hidden treasure. It is said that these minerals are the fingerprints of the planet, clues to its ancient origins, fragments of a story billions of years in the making. The narrator speaks again, his tone filled with quiet awe. Humanity has always looked to the stars to find its beginning. Yet perhaps the answer lies here, in the dark heart of the sea, where life first learned to form from chemical chaos. It was in places like this, near hydrothermal vents and volcanic springs, that the first cells are believed to have awakened. To gaze into this abyss is to look back in time, to witness the cradle of existence still pulsing in the depths. The vessel moves onward, passing over a field of hydrothermal vents known as black smokers. They rise from the seafloor like chimneys, expelling plumes of superheated water that billow upward in slow motion. Around them, an entire ecosystem thrives independent of sunlight. Tube worms taller than a man wave crimson plumes that harvest energy from the chemicals in the vent water. Crabs with ghostly white shells pick through mineral deposits, feeding on colonies of bacteria invisible to the human eye. Tiny shrimp swarm near the edges of the vents, their bodies glowing with faint phosphorescence. The scene looks otherworldly, a paradox of beauty and danger, where life exists not because of the absence of death, but because it has learned to build upon it. The narrator reflects on how every discovery made in this realm reshapes our understanding of what is possible. The deep sea teaches that life does not wait for perfect conditions. It adapts. It transforms adversity into opportunity. Every creature here is a masterpiece of resilience, a reminder that the limits we believe in are often self-imposed. Outside the vessel, the terrain begins to change again. The trench gives way to a series of rolling plains covered with small spherical nodules glinting in the artificial light. These metallic stones contain the elements that power modern civilization: cobalt, nickel, rare earth minerals, all forged by geological processes that take millions of years. Yet they also raise a haunting question about humanity's future. The narrator's tone grows thoughtful as he speaks of the temptation to harvest these resources from the deep, to mine the ocean floor for the sake of progress. But the cost of disturbing this fragile world may be greater than we can measure. The creatures that live here have taken countless generations to adapt to their environment, and a single act of human greed could erase them forever. The ocean, for all its vastness, is not infinite. It is a living system that remembers every wound, every imbalance. The vessel ascends slowly now, moving toward the midwater layer known as the twilight zone, where light and darkness wage a quiet war. Here, life is abundant, yet hidden, existing in the delicate balance between visibility and concealment. Schools of lanternfish move like drifting constellations, their synchronized glows forming patterns that seem almost intentional. Larger shadows move among them, predators, adapted to the art of patience and precision. The deeper currents whisper through the water like wind through a forest, carrying the voices of the ocean's oldest inhabitants. The narrator's voice softens, almost like a meditation. There is something deeply human about this world of silence. The creatures that live here do not seek dominance or conquest. They live in harmony with their environment, taking only what they need, adapting to change instead of fighting against it. Perhaps the lesson the deep sea offers is not about exploration, but about coexistence. Just as these ecosystems thrive without sunlight, perhaps humanity too must learn to find light within itself when the world grows dark. Every layer of the ocean mirrors a part of the human spirit. The surface is where noise and chaos rule, but the deeper we go, the quieter it becomes. Beneath the noise lies understanding, and beneath understanding lies truth. The narrator pauses as the vessel breaks through the final stretch of darkness into the pale glow of the upper ocean. Rays of sunlight filter down like spears of gold piercing the water. For a moment, everything is still. The sea, the machine, even the thoughts of those within it. It is as if the ocean itself is holding its breath before exhaling the explorers back into the world above. As the vessel surfaces, the sky feels both familiar and strange. The stars replaced by clouds, yet the sense of infinity unchanged. The narrator concludes with a voice filled with reflection and quiet strength. The ocean is not just a place on Earth, it is Earth itself, a mirror of the human journey. Beneath its crushing pressure, life learns resilience. Within its darkness, life finds light. And through its silence, life discovers purpose. Perhaps the greatest lesson the deep can teach us is that we too are part of this endless cycle of transformation. When life bears down with weight, we cannot escape. We adapt. When uncertainty surrounds us, we listen. When all seems lost, we remember that creation often begins in the quiet places where no one is watching. The mysteries of the deep are not meant to frighten us, but to remind us that wonder still exists, that courage still matters, and that discovery does not always mean conquering the unknown. Sometimes it means becoming still enough to understand it. And as the waves close around the vessel once more, one truth remains clear. The ocean does not simply exist beneath us, it exists within us, eternal, vast, and alive. The horizon stretches endlessly as the vessel floats silently on the surface of the Pacific Ocean, the waves moving with a slow rhythm that feels almost alive, like the ocean is breathing after centuries of silence. The crew stands in awe, their minds still heavy with the visions of what they have seen beneath the dark waters. The world above feels fragile now, almost unreal, compared to the ancient strength of the deep. The sun dips low, scattering golden light across the sea. And in that glow the water looks calm, gentle, innocent. Yet beneath this shimmering surface lies a universe of storms, volcanoes, and creatures that have never known sunlight. The narrator's voice returns, steady and contemplative, describing how every journey into the depths is not only an act of exploration, but an encounter with the truth of existence itself. For what lies below the waves mirrors what lies within the human spirit: quiet power, endless depth, and a constant struggle between creation and destruction. As the vessel drifts, sensors begin to register faint tremors beneath the hull, distant rumbles that roll through the water like the heartbeat of the earth. Somewhere far below, tectonic plates are shifting again, their slow collisions releasing energy that could one day reshape entire continents. The narrator speaks of this movement not as danger, but as life. For the Earth, like every living being, must move to remain alive. Stillness, though peaceful on the surface, can mean death beneath. The ocean reminds us that balance is not the absence of motion, but the harmony of constant change. The camera pans across the open sea, and the narrator's voice softens. Humanity often looks at the ocean and sees separation, the great divide between continents, but in truth, it is connection. Every drop of water that moves across its surface carries with it the memory of everything that has ever lived, from the first cells to the last breath of a whale. The tides we see on distant shores are the same rhythms that guide the migration of fish, the bloom of coral, and the pulse of weather systems that feed the rain above our cities. In every way that matters, the ocean is the bloodstream of the planet, a living network that unites all things. The journey continues eastward toward the equatorial Pacific, where vast underwater mountain ranges rise unseen. The vessel hovers above one of these formations, known as the East Pacific Rise, a line of volcanic ridges stretching for thousands of kilometers along the ocean floor. It is here that the Earth is reborn each day, as molten rock rises from the mantle and solidifies into new crust. The narrator describes it as the planet's workshop, where destruction becomes creation in a ceaseless cycle. The volcanic vents here release plumes of minerals and gases that feed ecosystems unlike any other, where bacteria create energy from the chemistry of the Earth instead of the light of the sun. This, the narrator explains, is the origin of all life, not light but transformation, not comfort but pressure. The camera follows a stream of bubbles rising from a vent, twisting and shimmering as they rise toward the surface. Within those bubbles are traces of the same elements found in every living cell: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, the very building blocks of existence. It is a humbling thought that the same forces that shape the deepest trenches are the ones that once shaped us. The narrator reflects quietly that perhaps we are not so different from these creatures of the deep. They live in darkness, yet they create light. They face pressure beyond imagination, yet they endure. They exist in isolation, yet they are connected to a vast network of life that sustains the planet. Humanity too lives under pressures of its own making, the weight of time, of ambition, of survival, and yet we too continue to create, to adapt, to find beauty even in hardship. The narrator pauses, letting the sound of the ocean fill the silence before continuing. The true lesson of the deep sea is not hidden in the creatures that glow or the vents that burn. It lies in the way life has learned to exist without certainty. Down there, survival is never guaranteed. The currents shift, the chemistry changes, and yet every form of life responds not with resistance, but with transformation. It bends, it learns, it becomes something new. Perhaps this is what the ocean has always tried to teach us. The change is not our enemy, it is our nature. The vessel now travels north toward a region where the Pacific meets colder currents from the poles. The sea here grows darker, heavier, more mysterious. Whales move beneath the waves like shadows of memory, their calls echoing for miles through the water. These sounds, ancient and haunting, are songs of navigation and remembrance. The narrator explains how scientists believe whales carry generational memory, knowing paths their ancestors swam centuries ago. It is a reminder that wisdom is not always learned through thought, but through listening, through connection to what came before. The ocean holds this kind of memory too, silent and patient, keeping records in its layers of sediment, in the shells of plankton and the bones of forgotten creatures. Every discovery pulled from the depths is a message from the past, a reminder that nothing in nature is truly lost. The camera turns to the horizon where storm clouds are forming, dark towers that mirror the mountains beneath the sea. Lightning flashes in the distance and thunder rolls across the water. The narrator speaks softly, almost like a prayer. Above and below, the forces of the planet are the same. Fire moves beneath the crust, air moves above the waves, and both are part of one eternal conversation. Humanity stands between them, fragile yet aware, capable of witnessing the beauty and terror of creation. In that awareness lies our gift and our burden. The storm grows closer. The sea begins to rise and fall with a new intensity. The vessel rocks gently on the surface, while the crew watches in silence. The narrator's tone deepens as he reflects on how the ocean mirrors human emotion. Its calm is deceptive, its rage unstoppable, its beauty eternal. To know the ocean is to understand that peace is not the absence of storms, but the ability to remain still within them. The rain begins to fall, merging sky and sea into one continuous expanse of motion. The narrator's voice weaves through the sound of thunder and waves, drawing meaning from chaos. The ocean does not destroy without reason. Each wave that crashes is part of a rhythm that restores balance, that keeps the world alive. Even in destruction there is purpose. The same waves that erode cliffs create beaches. The same volcanic eruptions that devastate the seafloor give birth to new land. Every act of violence in nature is followed by renewal. The lesson is not to fear what is changing, but to see what is being born through change. The storm passes as quickly as it came, leaving behind a sea washed clean and shimmering under the light of a new dawn. The narrator's voice now carries warmth and hope. The journey through the depths has revealed more than the secrets of the ocean. It has revealed the patterns of life itself. Everything that exists moves in cycles of rise and fall, light and dark, creation and decay. The ocean is the embodiment of that truth, infinite, yet constantly new. Humanity's task is not to conquer it, but to learn from it, to mirror its patience, its resilience, its quiet power. The camera rises slowly, showing the vastness of the Pacific stretching to every horizon. The narrator concludes with a final reflection. Gentle, yet profound, the ocean has always been a mirror, reflecting back to us what we choose to see. Some see danger, others see mystery, but those who look deeper find understanding. For the ocean, like the soul, holds everything within it, the calm, the chaos, the light, and the dark. To dive into its depths is to face ourselves, and to surface again is to be reborn, carrying with us the quiet truth that life, like the sea, is vast, ever-changing, and always worth exploring. The ocean lies quiet now, a mirror of the sky stretched endlessly in every direction, its surface calm and shimmering under the soft light of dawn. The vessel drifts without sound, as if the sea itself has chosen to rest after centuries of motion. Beneath the stillness, however, the great machine of the earth continues to turn, unseen yet unstoppable. Currents weave through the deep like veins, carrying the pulse of the planet. Far below, the tectonic plates grind, the vents release their eternal breath, and life continues its silent dance in the darkness. The narrator's voice returns, low and reflective, speaking not to describe what is seen but to reveal what is felt. The ocean, he says, is not merely water. It is time made visible, a living memory of everything that has ever been. Each wave carries the echo of ancient storms, each ripple the whisper of creation. To float upon it is to rest upon the surface of history itself. The crew looks out across the endless expanse, their faces calm yet thoughtful. What they have seen beneath the waves has changed something within them. It is no longer just about discovery or science. It is about understanding the rhythm that connects all living things. For in the deep, they have found a reflection of the human condition, the constant search for light in places where none seems to exist. The narrator continues, explaining that the ocean teaches patience in ways the land never can. On land, we measure time by days and years, but in the sea, time flows differently. It is measured in tides, in migrations, in the slow dance of continents. The ocean does not hurry, yet it achieves everything. Mountains rise and fall beneath it, species evolve and vanish, and still it remains unchanged in essence, though forever changing in form. Perhaps that is why humanity has always been drawn to it. The ocean reminds us of what we are capable of becoming, not through force but through endurance. As the sun climbs higher, the light spreads across the waves like liquid fire. The narrator's tone shifts, carrying warmth and wonder. For centuries, humans have feared the sea, calling it cruel, unpredictable, merciless. But the truth is that the ocean does not destroy, it reveals. It shows us the limits of our control, the fragility of our designs, the humility of our place in the vast system of life. The storms that terrify us are not punishment but lessons. They remind us that balance is not achieved through resistance but through respect. The wind may tear the sails, the waves may break the hull, but those who learn to move with the current, not against it, always find their way home. The vessel now moves toward the shallows, where the blue deepens into turquoise. Coral gardens appear beneath the water like cities built from light. Schools of fish move in perfect harmony, turning and shifting as one, their movements guided by instinct older than memory. Here, near the surface, life is abundant, vibrant, alive with color and sound. The narrator's voice carries a note of awe as he describes how everything in this ecosystem exists in balance. Every creature, from the smallest plankton to the largest predator, plays a part in maintaining the rhythm of the ocean. Even death here is not an ending but a transformation. What one life leaves behind becomes the nourishment for another. Nothing is wasted, nothing forgotten. The camera follows a single turtle gliding effortlessly through the water, its motions serene and unhurried. It moves with purpose, but without urgency, knowing instinctively where it must go. The narrator compares it to the flow of human life. We too are carried by invisible currents, guided by unseen forces that shape our paths. Often we resist, struggling against the tide, believing that control is strength. But the ocean teaches another truth, that true strength lies in surrender, in trusting the current that moves through all things. To fight it is to tire, to trust it is to arrive. The vessel stops for a moment as the crew prepares to return to land. The world above feels different now, quieter, more fragile. The narrator reflects on how humanity has built walls and machines and cities, yet beneath it all we are still creatures of water. Every drop of blood in our veins carries the same salt that fills the sea. Every heartbeat echoes the rhythm of the waves. We may have learned to cross the ocean, but we have not yet learned to listen to it. The camera turns upward to the horizon where the sun now burns bright, golden, and infinite. The narrator's tone grows soft but deliberate. The greatest mystery of the deep is not what we have yet to discover, it is what we have forgotten. In our pursuit of progress, we have lost the quiet connection to the world that birthed us. We have forgotten how to move in harmony with the tides, how to live as part of the whole instead of above it. The ocean, in its vast silence, invites us to remember. It asks us to pause, to breathe, to see not with our eyes but with our understanding. For when we look at the sea, we are not looking at something separate, we are looking at ourselves. The waves rise and fall like breaths, the tides shift like emotions, the depths hide secrets just as the human heart does. The ocean is a mirror, and within it, every truth we seek already exists. The wind picks up, scattering small ripples across the surface. The narrator speaks again, his voice carrying a quiet strength. There will come a time when the world grows louder, when noise drowns out the sound of the waves, when progress moves faster than understanding. When that time comes, we must remember the lessons of the deep. We must remember that creation and destruction are not enemies but partners. We must remember that pressure does not break life, it shapes it. We must remember that light is not always found above. Sometimes it must be made within. The vessel begins its journey back to shore, leaving behind the vastness of the open ocean. Yet as it moves, it carries something that cannot be measured, a sense of reverence, of humility, of connection. The narrator describes this feeling as the true gift of exploration, not knowledge, but perspective. To see the deep is to see the beginning of all things, and to understand that everything we do, every choice we make, ripples through the world like waves spreading across the water. The camera focuses on the shoreline appearing in the distance, the boundary between two worlds. The narrator's voice lowers to a whisper filled with reflection. We live our lives between the sky and the sea, between light and dark, between what we know and what we have yet to learn. The ocean has shown us that there is beauty in mystery, strength in stillness, and wisdom in the willingness to listen. As the waves lap gently against the vessel, the narrator offers the final lesson, calm and timeless. The deep is not just a place to explore, it is a teacher, a reminder that life's greatest truths are not written in books or carved in stone, but carried in the rhythm of the world itself. To live fully is to flow like water, to adapt, to move, to find peace even in turbulence. When we learn to live as the ocean lives, embracing both calm and storm, we will finally understand that we are not apart from nature, we are its reflection. The vessel reaches the harbor, the crew steps onto solid ground, and for a moment the world feels still. The narrator's last words echo like a tide returning to shore. The ocean does not end at the coast, it continues within us, shaping every breath, every heartbeat, every moment. To respect it is to respect life itself. To understand it is to understand who we truly are. The sea calls not to be conquered but to be remembered, for within its depths lies not only the story of the earth, but the story of us all. The ocean stretches into eternity beneath a sky painted in hues of gold and violet, the air warm yet touched by the lingering chill of dawn. Waves move like the slow breath of a sleeping giant, gentle and endless, and each crest seems to whisper secrets carried from the beginning of time. The vessel now rests anchored near the edge of the continental shelf, suspended above both mystery and memory. The crew stands silently, their eyes fixed on the horizon where the sea meets the heavens in a line so faint it seems to dissolve into infinity. The narrator's voice rises softly, carrying the weight of reflection and discovery. Every journey, he says, must end. Yet no true exploration ever truly finishes. What we find in the deep is not only the story of the ocean but the story of ourselves, written in waves, in silence, and in the unyielding will to seek. Beneath the calm surface, unseen forces continue their eternal motion. The Earth's crust bends and breathes, the currents flow like blood through the veins of the planet, and the creatures of the abyss move in their silent ballet. Down there, where light fades and pressure reigns, life continues its quiet defiance against all odds. It is easy to forget that the same resilience exists within us. Just as the fish have adapted to darkness, humanity has learned to find hope in its own unseen depths. Every storm survived, every hardship endured, is its own form of evolution. The narrator's words linger as the camera drifts across the open water. There is peace here, but it is not the peace of stillness, it is the peace of understanding. The ocean is never truly still. It is always moving, always changing, always alive. To stand before it is to witness the eternal truth of nature, that nothing remains the same, yet everything belongs. The sun climbs higher, casting diamonds of light across the water. Seabirds cry in the distance, their wings catching the wind as if carried by invisible hands. The narrator speaks again, his voice calm, yet filled with quiet passion. For centuries, humankind has looked upon the ocean as a boundary, a barrier between lands, a thing to cross or conquer. But perhaps the sea was never meant to divide us. Perhaps it was meant to remind us that all things are connected. Every river that flows carries the memory of the mountains. Every cloud that forms above the waves returns as rain upon the land. Even the air we breathe has passed through the lungs of the ocean. For the smallest organisms within its waters create the oxygen that sustains us all. To harm the sea is to harm ourselves, though many have yet to see it. The vessel moves slowly through the water, its reflection stretching across the shimmering surface. The camera dips beneath the waves, showing the world that lies just below, a realm of soft blue light and dancing particles. Coral formations bloom like living sculptures, and schools of silver fish glide through the currents in perfect unison. Life pulses here in quiet harmony, untouched by the noise above. Yet the narrator reminds us that this fragile beauty is not eternal. The balance of the ocean depends on our choices, and its future is intertwined with our own. Every piece of plastic that drifts upon the tide, every toxin released into the water, every careless act echoes through the vastness of the sea. But so too does every act of care, every effort to protect, every decision made with respect and understanding. The ocean does not judge, it reflects. It gives back what we offer, magnified and transformed. The camera follows the sunlight as it pierces deeper into the water, fading slowly until only darkness remains. The narrator's tone grows contemplative, filled with quiet strength. We are born from this water, shaped by its rhythms even before we draw our first breath. The same salt that fills the sea flows within our veins. The same cycles that govern the tides govern the beating of our hearts. The ocean is not outside us, it is within us, written into our very being. Perhaps that is why it calls to us so powerfully, why its voice stirs something ancient and unspoken deep inside. It is not just curiosity that draws us to its depths, but remembrance, a longing to return to where life began. The waves grow larger as the wind shifts, their motion steady yet unpredictable. The vessel sways gently, and the crew looks outward, thoughtful and silent. The narrator continues, his words flowing like the current itself. The greatest lesson the ocean teaches is humility. It reminds us that we are not masters of this planet but participants in its story. We build, we create, we reach for the stars, yet everything we know depends on the breath of this one living world. The sea is its soul, vast and enduring, carrying the memory of every age. When we listen to it, we are reminded of our place not above but among. The horizon darkens as clouds begin to gather, painting shadows across the light. A storm is forming in the distance, a reminder of the ocean's power. The waves begin to rise, the air thick with the scent of salt and rain. The narrator speaks over the growing rumble, his tone steady and unwavering. The sea is not cruel. Its storms are not punishment. They are renewal. They are the way the earth exhales, releasing the energy that builds within. We fear the storm because we cannot control it, yet without it, the world would stagnate. Growth requires pressure. Transformation requires chaos. Just as the deep formed life through heat and darkness, so too must we sometimes face the tempests of our own making to be reborn. Lightning flashes across the sky, illuminating the waves in bursts of silver and blue. The rain falls in sheets, merging sea and sky into one. Through the storm, the vessel moves steadily, guided not by sight but by instinct. The crew holds firm, their faces lit by the glow of the instruments, but their hearts anchored in something deeper than technology. Trust in the rhythm of the world that has carried life through eons. The narrator's voice softens as the storm begins to fade. Even the fiercest wind must one day surrender to calm. The clouds part slowly, revealing a sky cleansed and bright. The water shines once more, vast and endless, as if nothing had happened. Yet everything has changed. The narrator speaks gently now, like a teacher sharing a truth long understood. This is the cycle of all things: turmoil followed by peace, loss followed by renewal. The ocean does not resist, it flows. It bends, but never breaks. And in that surrender lies its strength. To live as the ocean lives is to understand that storms will come, but so too will sunlight. That endings are not final, but beginnings in disguise. That beneath the surface of chaos lies the quiet current of purpose, guiding everything toward balance. The camera pans across the open water one last time. The light of the setting sun turns the sea to molten gold, each wave glowing with the reflection of the sky. The narrator's voice carries the final lesson of the journey, calm and timeless. We have traveled to the deepest places and witnessed wonders beyond imagination, yet the greatest discovery is not in what we have seen, but in what we now understand. Life is vast, mysterious, and interconnected. The ocean has no beginning and no end, only flow. And we too are part of that flow, moving with time, shaping and being shaped by the world we inhabit. The vessel turns toward the shore, the coastline appearing faint in the distance, a reminder of home. The narrator concludes softly, each word measured and full of meaning. The sea does not keep its secrets to itself. It shares them with those who are willing to listen. Its message is simple: protect what sustains you, respect what you do not yet understand, and remember that even in darkness, there is always light waiting to be found. The waves lap gently against the hull as the scene fades into twilight. The last sound is the steady rhythm of the ocean's pulse, eternal, unbroken, carrying with it the memory of every voyage, every life, every heartbeat that has ever been. And in that sound, one truth remains: the ocean is not just the heart of the earth, it is the echo of life itself, endless, beautiful, and forever calling us to return. The sky glows with the deep amber light of evening as the vessel makes its slow passage back across the calm expanse of the Pacific. The air carries the scent of salt and memory, the rhythm of the waves blending with the steady hum of the engines, creating a sound that feels more like breathing than motion. The ocean stretches in every direction, vast and unbroken, reflecting the fire of the setting sun in streaks of gold and crimson. The crew stands on deck in silence, each of them lost in thought, their minds still caught between the world above and the one they left behind in the depths. The narrator's voice returns, quiet but resonant, carrying the tone of a final reflection. What they have witnessed, he says, is not simply a glimpse into the unknown, but a revelation of what has always been. The deep is not a place to be conquered. It is a teacher, a mirror, a truth that has waited patiently for those who would listen. Beneath the surface of the sea, they found not emptiness, but endless life. Not silence, but symphony. Not darkness, but the spark of creation itself. It is in the nature of humanity to look outward, to search the stars and the farthest reaches of the universe for meaning. But the greatest mystery lies here, just below the waves, in the living memory of the planet that gave us birth. The sun sinks lower, painting the sky in bands of violet and rose. The ocean too seems to darken with it, each wave holding the reflection of the dying light. The narrator continues, his words flowing like the tide. The sea is the oldest storyteller. Long before words, before language, before history, it spoke through rhythm and motion. Every wave that rises and falls is a sentence written in water, every current a thought, every storm a question. Humanity has always listened, though we did not always understand. The myths of our ancestors were born from its depths, tales of gods and monsters, of creation and loss, of journeys that mirrored our own. The ocean has been both cradle and challenge, testing our courage, shaping our imagination, humbling our pride. It has shown us that knowledge is not a possession, but a relationship, one built on curiosity, respect, and awe. The vessel glides through open water as the light fades completely, stars beginning to appear one by one, their reflections trembling on the surface below. The sky and sea become indistinguishable, two infinities mirroring each other. The narrator's tone softens as he speaks again. The deeper we ventured, the more we realized how fragile we are. Our technology, our power, our belief in control, all of it becomes small before the endlessness of the deep. Yet within that smallness lies something precious: awareness. The ocean does not need us, but we need it. It gives us air, food, climate, balance. It carries our past and determines our future. Every breath we take begins with the ocean. To forget that is to forget ourselves. The crew listens in silence, their faces illuminated by the dim glow of the instrument lights. The narrator continues, his words carrying the calm authority of truth. The lesson of the deep is not only scientific, it is spiritual. It tells us that strength is found not in dominance, but in harmony, that survival is not about isolation but connection. The creatures of the abyss thrive because they have learned to coexist, to adapt, to use every challenge as a chance to evolve. They remind us that resilience is not resistance, it is flexibility. The same law applies to us. To survive the pressures of life, we must not harden. We must learn to bend, to flow, to grow through change rather than against it. The night deepens, the stars multiplying, until the entire sky becomes a field of silver fire. The sea mirrors it perfectly, and for a moment, it feels as though the vessel is suspended between two heavens, one above and one below. The narrator's voice grows softer, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. The universe is a reflection of the ocean, infinite, mysterious, and alive. The currents of the deep mirror, the paths of galaxies, the pulse of tides echoes the rhythm of stars. Perhaps the boundary between water and space is not as wide as we think. Both are realms of silence, of beauty, of creation. Both remind us that life is a rare and sacred phenomenon, fragile yet unstoppable. The camera moves slowly across the faces of the crew, their eyes filled with quiet wonder. They have seen the abyss, and it has changed them. The narrator speaks again. To journey into the deep is to journey inward. It strips away illusion and noise until only truth remains. Down there, beneath miles of pressure, there is no room for pretense. There is only life in its purest form, simple yet infinite. That purity reflects back upon us, showing what we have forgotten in the rush of progress. We have built towers that touch the clouds, machines that reach the stars, but we have lost the art of listening. The ocean waits for us to remember that progress without understanding is emptiness. The vessel sails on through the night, guided by starlight. The waves whisper softly against the hull, a rhythm that feels eternal. The narrator continues, his voice calm but firm. The ocean does not ask for worship, only respect. It does not need saving, we do. When we pollute the water, when we poison the coral, when we drain the life from the sea, it is our own reflection we are harming. The ocean will endure as it always has, reshaping, healing, evolving, but we may not. The future of the sea is bound to the future of humanity. We are threads in the same fabric. The tide rises and falls with our choices. The narrator pauses, letting the silence stretch before speaking again. Yet even now, there is hope. Every action of care ripples outward. Every effort to protect, every moment of awareness matters. The smallest acts of compassion echo across generations. Like a drop of water falling into the sea, its ripples travel farther than the eye can see. The ocean has taught us this, that from the smallest beginning can grow something vast and eternal. The night slowly begins to fade. The first light of dawn spills across the horizon, soft and golden. The sea responds, glowing faintly as if waking from a dream. The narrator's voice grows warmer, filled with quiet optimism. The ocean is not a story of despair, it is a story of renewal. Every sunrise over its surface is proof that no darkness lasts forever. The storms come and go, the waves rise and fall, but the light always returns. And so it is with us. The camera captures the moment the sun breaks free from the edge of the world, scattering light across the endless water. The narrator's words flow like the tide, slow and deliberate. The journey into the deep has ended, but its lessons remain. Life is movement, not permanence. Everything changes, yet nothing is lost. The same water that falls as rain rises again as mist. The same atoms that form a human heart once drifted in the ancient seas. We are not separate from the world. We are its continuation. To live wisely is to live with awareness, to act not as owners of the earth, but as its guardians. The final images show the vessel turning toward home, cutting through the waves with quiet grace. The narrator's last words echo like the voice of the sea itself. The ocean calls to us not to conquer it, but to remember it, to listen, to learn, to live in harmony with the world that made us. Its depths remind us that beauty is not in what we possess, but in what we protect, that discovery means nothing without respect, and that the greatest mysteries are not those we uncover, but those we learn to cherish. The screen fades to the sound of waves and wind, timeless and steady, the heartbeat of the earth itself. And as the final light fades, only one truth remains. The ocean is alive, and through it, so are we. Listen. The night descends softly upon the ocean as the vessel drifts beneath a sky heavy with stars, each one a flicker of ancient light, traveling through eternity to touch the surface of the sea. The air is calm and filled with a deep quiet, a stillness that feels alive rather than empty. The waves move in slow, rhythmic patterns, as if echoing the heartbeat of the world itself. The water glows faintly in places where plankton shimmer, tiny sparks that mirror the constellations above. It is a perfect reflection, the heavens looking down into themselves, sky and sea becoming one endless mirror of time. The narrator's voice returns, low and serene, a whisper carried on the wind. In this silence, he says, the ocean reveals its greatest truth. It does not shout, it does not command, it only breathes. Its rhythm is the language of creation, its calm, the face of eternity. Every wave that rises and falls carries the weight of memory. Every ripple is a thought of the earth. The sea remembers everything. The birth of the continents, the rise of the winds, the first breath of life. It is the keeper of history, not in books or monuments, but in motion, in rhythm, in the endless conversation between water and time. The vessel moves slowly forward, guided by the soft pulse of its lights. Beneath it, the deep is infinite and unknowable, stretching farther than imagination can reach. The crew rests, but the ocean does not. Below, currents travel across thousands of miles, carrying warmth, nutrients, and life through invisible highways that connect every corner of the planet. The narrator speaks again, his tone thoughtful. The ocean is the great connector. It binds the world together not through walls or borders, but through flow. What begins as rain in one hemisphere becomes a current in another. The same drop of water that nourishes a coral reef today may feed a river tomorrow. Everything moves in cycles. Everything returns. Everything belongs. Humanity, too, is part of this cycle, though we often forget. We act as if we are separate, as if the sea is something we can own, control, or consume. Yet the truth is that we are made of it. Our blood is salt. Our cells hold the same elements that form the tides. Our first home as a species was within its embrace. To harm the ocean is to wound ourselves. To poison it is to dim our own reflection. The camera moves slowly across the surface, capturing the shimmer of moonlight as it dances across the waves. The narrator's voice softens as he continues. The ocean is not endless chaos. It is a system of balance, a masterpiece of self-regulation. It breathes with the planet, absorbing what is in excess, releasing what is needed, always seeking harmony. But harmony requires respect. When we take too much, the balance shifts. The coral bleaches, the fish vanish, the currents grow warm and restless. These are not punishments, but consequences. Reminders that even the most powerful system depends on care. The sea does not demand reverence, only reciprocity. Give as you take. Listen as you speak, protect as you use. In this simple truth lies the secret to survival, not only for the ocean but for us all. The vessel cuts through the water with gentle grace, its wake glowing faintly with the light of bioluminescent life. The scene feels dreamlike, as though the ship is sailing across a galaxy made of water and fire. The narrator's words drift through the sound of waves. The sea is not empty. It is filled with motion, with sound, with life. Beneath the surface there are voices, songs of whales that echo across continents, clicks and pulses that travel for hundreds of miles, each one a language of its own. The ocean speaks constantly, though we have forgotten how to listen. Its message is simple. Life is not a competition, it is a collaboration. Every creature, from the smallest plankton to the largest whale, plays a role in maintaining the harmony of the whole. Even death serves life here. For what falls to the bottom becomes food. For what lives in the dark, nothing is wasted, nothing forgotten. The ocean has perfected what humanity still struggles to learn: coexistence. The narrator pauses as the sound of the waves fills the silence, then continues with quiet conviction. We are a young species, still learning the rhythm of the world we inhabit. We build machines and cities and towers that scrape the clouds, but we have yet to master the art of balance. We mistake progress for separation, believing that to rise we must dominate. Yet every law of nature tells us the opposite. The sea rises not by resisting gravity, but by embracing motion. It moves freely, endlessly, without ownership or pride. It changes form but never essence. It is in constant surrender, yet it is unstoppable. Perhaps this is the wisdom we have been seeking all along, that strength does not come from control but from understanding, not from standing apart but from flowing together. The wind shifts, carrying a gentle mist across the deck, cool and alive. The narrator's tone grows softer, almost meditative. The sea is a reminder that everything we fear about the unknown is already within us. Its depth mirrors our own. We fear its darkness, yet we forget that without darkness, light cannot exist. We fear its storms, yet it is the storm that clears the air, that brings renewal. The sea is not an enemy, it is a reflection of the soul. Within its vastness lies every emotion, every dream, every truth. The waves crash and calm, just as hearts break and heal. The tides retreat and return, just as life ends and begins again. To live in harmony with the ocean is to live in harmony with oneself. The camera shifts upward once more, showing the night sky reflected perfectly upon the water. The stars seem close enough to touch, their light rippling gently across the waves. The narrator speaks again, his words like a quiet prayer. The ocean has shown us what eternity looks like, not as a destination but as a rhythm. It has no beginning and no end, only movement, only transformation. The same water that now touches this ship once touched the shores of ancient lands, once rose into clouds, once fell as rain upon forgotten forests. Every drop has lived countless lives, and through it, so have we. We are part of this eternal cycle, bound not by chains but by breath. To forget this is to forget who we are. The wind grows stronger, and in the distance, lightning flashes briefly over the horizon, illuminating the clouds like the opening of a great eye. The narrator's tone deepens, filled with calm reverence. Even the storms are sacred. They remind us that power is not to be feared, but understood. The ocean teaches that energy must flow, that suppression breeds chaos, and that only by allowing movement can peace return. When the waves rage, they are not destroying, they are restoring balance. When the sky darkens, it is preparing to give light. Nature is never still because life itself is never still. The vessel sails onward, leaving behind only a trail of luminous foam that fades quickly into darkness. The narrator's final words carry the weight of both farewell and continuation. The journey through the ocean is never over. Each time we return, it is different, because we are different. The sea reflects who we are in the moment we meet it, sometimes calm, sometimes wild, always honest. To know it is to know truth, not through explanation but through experience. The ocean does not teach in words, it teaches in feeling, in the rise of the tide, in the silence after the storm, in the light that returns after the dark. The scene fades to the horizon, the first hint of dawn glowing faintly in the east. The narrator concludes softly, his voice dissolving into the rhythm of the waves. The ocean endures, and through it, so will we. It asks nothing but presence. It gives everything in return. Listen to it, and you will hear the echo of your own soul. Follow it, and you will find not an ending, but an endless beginning, the eternal song of life itself, flowing forever between sky and sea. The dawn unfolds across the horizon like a slow awakening, its light stretching fingers of gold across the calm expanse of the ocean. The waves glimmer as if each one were breathing in rhythm with the sun itself. The vessel drifts upon the water, small and silent against the immensity of the world. The narrator's voice rises once more, gentle but steady, carrying the wisdom gathered from all that has been witnessed. The ocean has spoken, not through words, but through presence. It has taught that life is not a line but a circle, that every ending folds into another beginning, that every descent into darkness is followed by light. The sea has no need for permanence, for it knows that beauty lies in motion, that truth lives not in what remains but in what continues. The air is warm and soft, filled with the scent of salt, and Sunday birds sweep low over the waves, their wings cutting graceful arcs through the air. Beneath the surface, unseen, the ocean hums with quiet life. Currents move with invisible force, carrying messages across the globe, connecting coral reefs, ice shelves, and distant shores in a web of motion that sustains the entire planet. The narrator speaks again, his tone reflective. The sea is not just a body of water, it is the consciousness of the earth. It feels, it remembers, it responds. Every drop holds the story of creation. Every tide carries the rhythm of existence. Humanity has always looked upon it with wonder, yet too often with distance. We have sailed upon it, taken from it, feared its power, but we have not listened to its voice. The sea asks only one thing, that we live in awareness, that we remember we are part of the same living fabric. The vessel glides toward a coastline faintly visible on the horizon. Mountains rise beyond the mist, their peaks catching the first fire of the Sunday. The narrator describes this as the eternal meeting place of elements, where land and water embrace, where creation and destruction meet in perfect balance. The shore is not an ending, it is a threshold, the place where the known and the unknown shake hands. The camera moves across the waves, each one catching the light differently, each one unique yet part of the same endless flow. The narrator continues, his words carrying the rhythm of the water. The ocean is the great teacher of humility. It shows that nothing stands alone, that every motion influences another, that every life, no matter how small, shapes the whole. In the deep we saw creatures that glow in darkness, that thrive under pressure, that live where no sunlight ever touches. They do not fight the conditions around them, they adapt, they become part of them. From them, we learn that survival is not about strength but understanding. The world above could learn the same lesson. We cannot conquer what we do not respect, and we cannot protect what we do not love. The camera rises to show a vast panorama of light spilling across the sea, turning it into a field of liquid gold. The narrator's tone deepens, filled with emotion. The greatest truth of the ocean is not its depth or power, but its grace. It accepts without judgment, it forgives without words, it renews without rest. No matter what is poured into it, the sea finds a way to transform, to heal, to continue. Humanity has that same power, the ability to begin again, to cleanse itself of fear and pride, to flow forward into something greater. The journey through the deep has shown that life is never static, that it is the act of constant transformation that keeps the universe alive. The vessel nears the shore, and the sound of waves breaking upon rocks fills the air. The narrator's voice softens. The ocean's edge is a reminder that no boundary is absolute. The same wave that touches the coast will return to the deep, and the same water that feeds the storm will fall again as rain. We too are like this, part of a larger rhythm that moves beyond what we can see. The boundaries we draw between ourselves and nature are illusions. We are the sea, the air, the fire, and the earth combined. To live in harmony is to recognize this truth, not as philosophy, but as fact. The wind rises slightly, rippling the surface into countless small patterns that catch the light. The narrator reflects on what the voyage has revealed about time. The ocean does not measure in hours or years. It measures in cycles, in return, in renewal. Humanity rushes through time like a river in flood, always chasing, always consuming. But the sea reminds us that stillness is also movement, that patience is a form of power. The greatest changes happen not in explosions but in persistence, in the quiet accumulation of small acts repeated over ages. The same current that shapes a coastline does so not in a moment but in centuries of touch. The narrator's tone turns gentle again, filled with hope. If we wish to leave something lasting, we must learn the rhythm of the sea, steady, patient, unwavering. The camera now dives beneath the waves one final time, showing a world alive with color and light. Fish move in endless patterns. Coral blooms like living sculpture. Rays of sunlight pierce the water in beams that seem almost holy. The narrator speaks with quiet wonder. This is the secret the deep holds. That life is not a battle to win, but a song to join. Every creature plays its note. Every current carries its verse. And together they create the music of existence. The melody of life does not need perfection. It needs participation. To live fully is to listen to that song and to add one's voice to it. The camera surfaces again, showing the vessel approaching land. The waves break softly against the hull, and the light of the sun fills the sky with gold and silver. The narrator's tone grows tender, like a farewell. The ocean has given its message, simple yet profound. It has shown that strength lies in fluidity, that beauty lies in balance, that survival lies in connection. Above all, it has shown that life endures not through dominance, but through harmony. Every current, every tide, every life form plays its part in the dance of the planet. To live well is to move with that rhythm, not apart from it. The ship reaches the harbor, and the sound of gulls returns. The crew steps onto the dock, their faces touched by sunlight. They do not speak, for some moments require silence. The narrator speaks once more, his words slow and clear. The journey is not over. It never will be. The ocean continues, and so do we. Every wave that breaks upon the shore carries the same truth, that endings are beginnings in disguise, that the flow of life is eternal. We are travelers in this great tide, not observers, and our choices ripple across the world like waves upon water. The scene widens to show the vast horizon, the sky and the sea blending into one. The narrator's final words echo like the sound of the tide returning. The ocean is not separate from us, it is us. It breathes through us, speaks through us, and calls us to remember what we have always known, that life is vast, that time is sacred, and that we are all part of the same great current moving endlessly toward the light. The waves rise and fall, eternal, patient, unbroken, and as the final light of the sun touches the water, the ocean whispers its last word, always, always, always.